Cue the music. Cue the music.
Hello and welcome back to the FTHcast. I am your host, FTHcast, also known as Paul, and of course, I'm here with the two bestest of best people. That is Kyle. Say hello, Kyle.
Hola, Padre.
And good old Nathan. Say hello, Nathan.
Hey.
And of course, we are just three... Whoa, stupid little gamers. I'm sorry, a sound just went off on my computer and scared me. Talking about video games. We're just gamers, and we're here to talk about video games. And this week, we are tackling the massive multiplayer discussion of multiplayer. It's gonna be exciting. I'm excited. Are you guys excited?
I'm excited for the multiplayer discussion of multiplayer.
Yeah, I was trying to tie in MMO into that somehow. It didn't work out very well, but that's alright. First, let's start out with something a little different before we get into that. Let's talk about what we've been playing for the last week. Actually, no, before we get into that, I want to make an announcement here. First,
oh, wow.
This is no one else in the world knows this except for me and you two guys, and you guys don't even know what I'm going to say. You excited? I'm excited.
I'm
super
on
excited.
pins and needles.
Pins, needles. FTHcast is tentatively, we are testing out, we are going to try for a limited time only as a weekly podcast as opposed to bi-weekly. Woo!
Right.
Yeah. So we talked it over this last weekend and thought, hey, we could probably do it. Let's just try it out. It's not guaranteed. If we decide a week or so later it's too much work, we're just going to scrap it and go back to bi-weekly. But we like to talk about video games. We have plenty to talk about. We can come up with plenty of topics. We already have a few on our brain cells that we want to talk about, and it kind of hurts sometimes to have to wait so long just to talk about them. So there you go. We're going weekly. Every Monday is when I'm going to try to put these out. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. And of course, we're still on iTunes and YouTube, so fantastic. But let's discuss real quick. What you guys been playing this last week? Kyle, where'd you go? What'd you do?
I'm here. I've been playing the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus HD remake for the PlayStation 3. Shadow of the Colossus is one of my all-time faves.
I've still never played it.
Well, you, sir, are blowing it in every imaginable way.
When I first saw that game, I thought, this is something I would love. And I've never even watched a gameplay of it. I've just seen, the advertisements for it. And that's it. That's the only thing I've seen.
From my understanding, I think they're making a movie of it too, which I don't know. I think that's...
I bet they don't.
I hope they don't. Because the game, literally, the only enemies are the Colossi, and the only other people in the game, well, rather than the people that are trying to find you, are a boy, a horse, and a girl that's dead.
That could still be somewhat interesting. If they do it right, if they kind of do it as an indie, they get some kid who's still in college, make the movie. No, that wouldn't make it any better.
I thought you were going to say some kid that's in college be the main character, and I was like,
no.
But it's not said.
That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, if they do some kid who's he goes to UCLA,
he gets
hangs
bit
out
by a spider and
turns into
to Batman.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, I'm moving on. Nathan, what you been playing this last week? Let me guess. Battlefield.
Wrong, you douche. No, I started Fallout 3 again.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking awesome, like always.
I was going to say, I've almost done that these last couple weeks, and I ended up doing Skyrim because I've already beaten Fallout 3 and all the DLC. So I was like, I'll try to beat
I never
Skyrim.
bought any of the DLC for Fallout 3, so that's what I'm planning on doing, and buying all those and just playing the crap out of it.
The first DLC is the one that is about Alaska, and it's really like Call of Duty-ish. It's kind of funny. It's real. It's like you just go straight through it. There's no side quests or anything, and you get a lot of ammo and stuff. And it kind of plays like a standard first-person shooter. It's kind of funny, but it's good. And then
there's the pit.
The pit's pretty good, but the one where you go down into Louisiana, fantastic. It's
Oh,
probably
the
like
swamp one or whatever.
yeah, that one's probably the scariest DLC of all the Fallout games. It's good too. It is so good. It has some of the hardest mobs in it, or like monsters. I swear, you'll like that one.
Sweet.
It's really really good. Yeah, you need to get those DLCs. I know that Xbox just had a big sale. Did they? I feel like they had Fallout 3 on there.
I haven't been on my Xbox since like pre E3.
Well, then maybe I wasn't talking to you, Kyle. Jeez.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
You just been playing by yourself on the PlayStation 4? 3, 2, 1.
I've been looking at the few friends I have on there, log on and off, and wish that I could talk to them, but I can't because it's a broken system.
Like get on and just get on Netflix. That's what I do on my Xbox. I get on, I see all the other people watching Netflix, and then I watch Netflix. It's an exciting system.
I want to get more into shorter downloadable games. I've actually been playing a game on my iPad called Forgotten Winds, and it's really good.
Have you guys heard that Xbox Live Arcade game called, or not necessarily exclusive arcade, but called Mark of the Ninja?
Yes. It's made by the people who made Shank and Shank 2, and it's supposed to be fantastic.
I was hoping that would be on sale, but on their Summer of Arcade or whatever, but it's not.
No, that stinks. Yeah, it's supposed to be really good. I haven't played any of those games, but Mark of the Ninjas, like the first two, Shank and Shank 2 that they made, are kind of like beat 'em ups, side-scrolling beat 'em ups, and the Mark of the Ninja is kind of different. It's the same kind of art style, still side-scrolling, still kind of a beat 'em up, but there's a huge stealth element to it, and actually, the preferred gameplay probably of that is specifically stealth. Yeah, it's really good. There's lots of videos on it on the YouTubes of other people playing it and showing it off. So let's move on to the topic of the day, which is multiplayer, and we're going to talk specifically not just about general multiplayer, but we want to talk about how multiplayer works today and how it's being forced into many games when previously they were not there. And they've been doing that for a while now. Like BioShock 2, which is kind of an older game now, is kind of infamous for just having a hacked on really horrible multiplayer that didn't make any sense in the universe, let alone playing it just didn't make sense. And then of course more recently we have Tomb Raider that did that, and I have Tomb Raider. I played Tomb Raider a little bit, and I never even thought to even check out the multiplayer. It didn't, like when I played the single player, the multiplayer didn't even seem like it would be fun because the single player isn't like actiony.
I bought the game, never touched the multiplayer.
Yeah. So I guess let's start out, and I mean, obviously we can just say that's bad, but I guess it's more of a why. Like why do you feel that companies are pushing these really bad multiplayer onto these really good single player titles? Go.
Because that's the only way that they feel like they can sell their game, which is Call of Duty's fault.
Yeah, but it doesn't though. Like, I think that's what kind of blows my own personal mind. Like when I think about BioShock 2, I don't think people bought BioShock 2 for the multiplayer. I don't think more people bought BioShock 2 for the multiplayer. I think people bought BioShock 2 because BioShock 1 was a good game and they wanted to play BioShock 2. You know, and like obviously the multiplayer did not drive the sales of Tomb Raider. It just doesn't seem. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't think it drove the core gamers to get BioShock 2 or Tomb Raider, but whoever, little Jimmy's walking around, he's been playing Call of Duty, sees BioShock 2 multiplayer. Oh, I don't know what BioShock is. I know what multiplayer is, so I have fun on whatever X or Y game, so why not get this? And I think it's almost like a necessary evil, sort of. I mean, I don't blame them for having it because, at the end of the day, it's a product they're trying to make money off of, so they're trying to reach as broad of an audience as possible. But that being said, sometimes the multiplayer is so bad it makes me not want to even play the game itself because it just feels, just tacked on and just completely unnecessary.
I guess they're just trying to get people, I don't know, give them more playability in their games, I guess. So keep people playing your game over, but but like Kyle was saying, like it's just tacked on and it's useless. You know, you make this excellent. Even The Last of Us, one of the best single player storyline games, and yet they threw on multiplayer. It's like, wow.
The Last of Us multiplayer is ballin'.
Is it? I haven't played it, so I can't judge it, but I just couldn't imagine being that great.
Well, no, I thought the same thing too. I was like, why is Naughty Dog, you know, I think they did that with,
I was about to say, they have a little bit of experience with that, though.
Yeah, and so I was kind of confused again, because you heard of people playing like the Uncharted, but it wasn't, you know, like a huge selling point. So it just seemed kind of weird to me that at first, but then whenever I play it, it's actually really cool. You have like you pick a faction you want to be with. It's either the Hunters or the Fireflies, who are kind of like a resistance group in this universe. And so in the multiplayer mode, you see how long you can survive, and you have it's like a little metagame inside the multiplayer. You see like how many people will come into your like group and survive, and by playing the multiplayer, you scavenge like supplies and stuff like that to keep your group going. And actually, I haven't played in a while, so the next time I get on, I'm like literally everybody's probably going to be dead, and I'm just going to have to start completely over. And the only way you can restart your faction side is after you have like completely like killed everybody in your group, and you just have to start over. So it was really well thought out, and it's really, I mean, it's not, you get shot. I mean, you're dead. It's very finite on like when you die, and you don't respawn until like the next match comes over. It was actually, I mean, it's not the most awesome thing you've ever played, but
but it's not like they just took the engine and just made a team deathmatch either, you know.
No. Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, it was thought out more than just let's put deathmatch on here and
That's
perks.
why Mass Effects was actually pretty successful, because it wasn't just a death match. It was actually well planned out. There's all kinds of different classes they added and different characters.
Yeah, and it wasn't
weapons
and it wasn't really competitive, right? They didn't have a competitive multiplayer.
It's all team based.
Yeah, which is in its own right like really interesting and thought out. Like, granted, it was just a horde mode, and that's been around for a while, but it made sense in
Years of War.
it made sense in that universe to have something like that, as opposed to, again, just doing like a death match or a capture the flag.
Now, see, to me, that's more thoughtful than just like having some kind of weird deathmatch mode, like Spies versus whatever. I don't know. Because I mean like that. It's multiplayer in a different sense. I mean, it's not like, and I'm using this very loosely, massive multiplayer where you're like playing against other people, not necessarily like an MMO, but
like a Call of Duty.
Right, yeah.
Which is really the exact opposite of what we're talking about. In that game, I mean, arguably the multiplayer is significantly better than the single player. Single player, the stories are all muddied and whatever, and you don't care about the characters because you don't care about the characters, and it's just, you're just running around shooting people. There's no meat to that type of game. But in the multiplayer, it works really well. You know, as long as it's not super laggy, which it always is, and not filled with a bunch of RC cars that just blow up out of nowhere. that game makes sense in as a multiplayer game and not as a single player game.
Yeah, and that's why I think. Yeah, that's what I say. It makes sense to either do one or the other.
Yeah,
be all single player or all multiplayer. Too many times. I mean, very rarely. There's games like Destiny, I guess, is a good example, where it's pretty much, incorporating the multiplayer into the single player experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, people pop in and out.
I bet you that's a game you can't play offline. I guarantee you that's a game you can't play offline.
Oh yeah, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. But I mean, I think that's cool how they did it. It wasn't like, here's a single player mode and here's a separate multiplayer mode.
Well, Titanfall is only multiplayer.
Yeah, just strict multiplayer. Yeah,
and there's
no, go ahead.
Well, like, their studio head even said it doesn't make sense to make both modes. He's like, you're dividing up your studio's resources. I forgot the numbers he threw out, but I mean, you know, a small percentage not only play the actual campaign, but even a smaller percentage actually finish it. So why would you even bother.
It's just a waste of money. Yeah, like manpower. You could be working out all kinds of kinks in your multiplayer system or your single player system rather than trying to half-ass something at the very end.
Rather than seeing how many helicopter crashes one can survive.
Right. And like you were saying earlier, I think you're kind of hitting on a point. This is like 5 minutes ago now, so I kind of forgot exactly what you were saying. But you were leading into the point, like, they're forcing on these multiplayer, and it's really just to drive sales. It's to bring both single player people and multiplayer people buying one game, when it's not always the smartest thing to do, because now you're saying, well, I'm making a game for these people and a game for these people and not a game for everyone. And I think we're definitely starting to see, like with Titanfall and Destiny, where they're saying, okay, we're going to make a game for everyone that's both appealing to people who kind of like playing by themselves and people who really like the competitive stuff. We're going to meld those into where you can't really see the difference between the two. Like as far as you could just pretend in Destiny that you have a companion and then all of a sudden there's just other NPCs running. Like that doesn't seem like a game where you're going to have to be in constant communication with people. It doesn't seem like in a game where you're going to rage because you got killed. And the same thing with Titanfall. Like, it's going to feel like a nice AI world. But at the same time, it's going to have that dynamic of multiplayer, and it's going to have that competitive feel to it. But the danger, and this is why I find it interesting that they're going in these routes, is, okay, so Destiny is its own thing, and it's very, very big, and it's very, very large, and it's going to be worth $60. But Titanfall, the more I look at that game, if it's just competitive multiplayer modes, and it's not this open, expansive kind of experience, is that game worth $60? I mean, is it going to come with 80 maps? Because to me, a multiplayer mode is going to need a lot of maps or a lot of features to be worth $60.
No, he said yeah, I agree that there needs to be a crap ton of maps, but I don't know. He mentioned that it has like single player elements into the multiplayer. I don't know exactly what that means, but
maybe there's still kind of a story to it. Maybe you go through different maps. Maybe it is kind of like a single player where you go from map to map to map. You actually play a certain number of maps in a row, and each one of those has a story element to it in between. But every time you play one of those maps, instead of it being a level, it's a map. It's a multiplayer match, and then there's a story. That'd be kind of interesting. And then once you beat it, I guess you could then choose to play, just competitively and just run around and do whatever map you want. And then I don't know. That could be interesting. I don't know enough about Titanfall though to speculate that. I don't know.
Well, can we I'm going kind of back.
Go back. Go on back.
But like you're talking about like cutting resources. One of the things that pisses me off the most about, well, no, I guess not necessarily really. Well, mostly just Call of Duty, yeah. Like game types other than deathmatch, like domination or headquarters, stuff like that. You get these clans on there that memorize every location for every, headquarter base, flags you have to capture, whatever.
Yeah.
Random objective generator, like,
use
that resource to like that. I don't know. There's just so much stuff that they could do by leaving out the just derivative, like unnecessary single player, and just work out small little kinks that would make me like Call of Duty again.
Yeah, there's really two different ways they could do that. Either one, make it easy for everyone to learn the maps, not just how to get around the map, but like where resources and stuff are. Or make it so it's impossible for anyone to learn the maps. Like level it out a little bit, because I definitely know what you're talking about. Like I remember it was probably a year ago now, but I jumped onto Modern Warfare 2. I think I was by myself actually. I don't know why I jumped on, but I jumped onto Modern Warfare 2, and I got in a game, and I got on a team where there was like a bunch of people playing together, and they literally were able to just get into a corner and just blast people. Like nobody was able to do anything. The other team just got demolished, and like they would just yell at you if you got out of, they're like, get back here with us. It was really stupid. It was just like, this is not fair nor fun. Like there's no competitiveness to this. It's just us mopping the floor.
And how awesome would like a random map generator be?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's
like,
something
that would be awesome.
That's something I feel we're getting more and more close to, and something that I mean, I could see that happening pretty near into the future, because we already have games that do random generation. So like we have FTL that generates a bunch of random stuff, which of course it's an indie game. It's not a full 3D game. We also have Rogue Legacy. Like we have all these like rogue titles or roguelikes is what they call them, which is based off an old game called Rogue, where every time you played it, it was different and it got harder and harder. But the big thing about that is every time you played it, it was different. So there's that desire to have randomness. And of course there's then, Minecraft and Cube World, which are these voxel based games, and there's a billion other like copies that are around that are also voxel based, and they just generate randomness. So if we can get that technology down and into and organized to where it's a nicer, cleaner looking thing, and you have like a Call of Duty, well, maybe like a Battlefield 4 or whatever looking game, but with a random generated map, that'd be pretty interesting.
Well, I mean, I guess Battlefield 4 is moving towards that with like their Levolution, where it's changing. You can do stuff to change the dynamic of the map.
Now, that's I mean, I think the randomness would work better on like smaller scale, like Call of Duty, because I mean, Battlefield is so big. Like I never really feel like I'm in the same place.
Yeah.
Just because it's so big, and like Nathan said, I mean, I don't know. I was probably.
Go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying, I was pretty let down by the destruction in Battlefield 3, but like Bad Company 2, you never, even if, I mean, you could play the same map over and over and over and over, but I don't know, it was unreal to me how much like you could just change the landscape and stuff like that to get done what you wanted to get done. So,
and that's real quick. That's another thing that's really exciting, and that's something that PC, I guess, has always had as a strength, because the games, the first-person shooters, and that's just what we've been talking about, even though there's a million other type of multiplayers, but the competitive games on PC that are like first-person shooters and third-person shooters, they can put in a type of map creator or something. So even like in Team Fortress 2, like that's one of the reasons that game's so popular, is one, because there's a million hats for you to wear, and two, because there's so many maps that are created by the community that they put up on their own servers, and you can go and you can play them, and they're different. And I don't know, that's I feel like a strength that's from the PC that would be nice to find in consoles. Actually, in saying that, I remember an example that was on a console that was really, really well, and I think it was it the original? Oh man, what was that first Xbox 360 game that was a first-person shooter that was really, really bad? Perfect Dark.
Dark.
Didn't the original 64 version have a map editor on it? Did it have a map editor?
I'm not sure, but I'm gonna say yes.
I know that Time Splitters 2 for the GameCube had a map editor, and it was amazing. And it was so much fun making levels for that. And I feel like maybe was there a Perfect Dark on GameCube? I don't think there was there?
No, there wasn't.
No, I don't know why I think that Perfect Dark had a map editor. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't know. But I definitely remember Time Splitters 2 having one, and that was so much fun. Like just making levels. You could actually, I think you could even make like missions and stuff too to do. That was fun. That was cool. And wait, I think I had another one. Red Faction, the original one for the PlayStation 2. Man, I think that one had a map editor.
Red Faction was awesome.
The original Red Faction was so good.
Awesome.
Oh man, I wish they had never done what they did to Red Faction.
And then like Armageddon. Yeah, change. Oh yeah, don't get me started.
Yeah, I wish they had never changed Red Faction, because the original one was so good. Oh. All right, where were we? No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like you kind of talked about Team Fortress, like. Half-Life does not need a multiplayer, and I hope it never gets one. And I feel like
there is.
Do what?
There has always been a multiplayer for Half-Life and Half-Life 2. They're like usually like, especially on the PC, they're usually like separate downloads or something. They're like really weird. They're not. It's not like you just go into.
Let me make an addendum to that. I'm a console gamer by trade.
Yeah.
So. That's not something I've ever been, but well, I mean, let me rephrase that. Like with the orange box, let me just start over.
Right.
There was not a Half-Life specific
You're right.
multiplayer mode.
You're right. There wasn't.
And so, but I think the whole thing with that was if you want to play multiplayer, it comes with Team Fortress.
Yeah.
And so that was a game specifically designed to be multiplayer. So I like in that sense, which by the way, I think the orange box is like even now one of the best things ever made. I think that's a good way to do that. Like, I don't know. It not necessarily that was packaged separately, but they packaged a completely different experience with it to subsidize that need for multiplayer.
Do you have the orange box? Do you have like the box to the orange box?
Oh yeah. Looking at it right now, brother.
Well, name off all the games that are on it. Half-Life 1,
Okay,
or Half-Life
hang
2
on.
Part 1, Half-Life Part
I'm going to have to get up real quick.
Okay. Because I'm pretty sure there's a multiplayer for Half-Life 2 on there. Because I feel like I played it on the Xbox. I could be completely wrong and played it on the PC. But I don't think I ever had Half-Life 2 on the PC.
I've never played a Half-Life multiplayer.
They exist. But they're always like mods.
Exactly. So that you can't really say it's. I mean,
You're right. The Valve puts it in there, but they don't really do anything with it, and they let the community just kind of mod it in there. But they had it for the original, and they had it for Half-Life 2, because that's where Counter-Strike came from, and that's where Team Fortress came from. They were mods of the multiplayer for the original Half-Life and Half-Life 2.
Okay, I have it here.
Okay.
What do you want to know?
I want to know all the games that it comes on, because I feel like there's a multiplayer Half-Life 2 on there.
Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, Team Fortress 2, and introducing Portal.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. For some reason, I thought there was a multiplayer. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that was just a waste of time. Oh. So, yeah. Where were we?
well, here's another topic to touch on. Do you think, there's a big push now for multiplayer in all these games, but I noticed a big thing in E3 was everything's open world now.
Right.
So do you think single player games, besides having to do a multiplayer, are just going to go more of the open world route, like Metal Gear and The Division and Watch Dogs are all open world games?
I think what we're going to see is polar opposites. And this is just my observation based on a couple games that are getting ready to come out in both ways. So we have some old school, what they call Twitch shooters, which are like old school, like Unreal type shooters, but they're more like Doom, and that they're single player, and that you run through like corridors, and there's like secrets to find. You have to get the blue key to open up the blue door. But then we also have these things like Destiny and stuff that are coming out that are multiplayer. They're massive, but they're not MMOs, but they're interesting, and the multiplayer's really in depth and tied in, and it's all kind of cool. And I think that's what we're going to see. What we're going to see is this huge departure in two different complete directions, and then probably somewhere in the middle they're going to merge, and we're going to end up with games very, very similar to what we already had. I think we're going to go back into kind of like Call of Duty type games where they're, where they're separated again, where you have this single player, multiplayer tacked into each other. But, it'll be further down the line, and everybody will be complaining about it again. But I don't know. What do you think, Kyle?
I kind of agree with you on that. I mean, either of you all, Nathan, do you have Red Dead Redemption?
I bought it, but I heard he sold it back.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I got
one of the
tired
best games
with it.
ever.
Cowboys are for 14-year-olds.
What? Oh, I quit.
I'm just kidding. I never played them.
Well, there was two multiplayer modes on it. There was the free roam, which you could make a posse and just ride around, and like there was missions that you could do, or you could just kill other players, which got kind of annoying because the only thing people did was just kill other players like as soon as they saw them, and they had really powerful weapons, so it's not a lot of fun. But if you can get away from that and do the missions, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then the multiplayer, there was a like a team deathmatch mode that was entertaining. I mean, it wasn't anything awesome, but I agree with you that I think that the open world is definitely going to be like the next. I think this generation was like kind of a mix when they first came out. Then first person shooter, third person shooter, first person shooter. Like that just became the regular.
With a few RPGs thrown in there.
Yeah, with a few, that were about 50% RPG, 50% third person shooter. But anyway, I think that you're going to see a lot more like first person shooter, open world. Like I think that's. I think the market share is going to start. It's going to be first person shooter and open world. So I think that's going to be.
I think and this is going to sound. I don't know how it's going to sound, but with the success and the inevitable death of World of Warcraft. I mean, right now World of Warcraft still has like 9 million subscribers, but which is more than any other subscriber of any other MMO, and it's still like the highest number. Like nobody's touched them. I think at their height they were like 12 million people subscribing. That's insanity, by the way.
Is that now when you say subscribers, is that paying to play?
That's paying to play. It's 12 million people once a month paying a minimum of like $12.
Now, do they have a free-to-play version?
They do now, but it's only
like
up to level 20. Yeah, it's only up to level 20, and that's something that's only come around in the last year or so. Like, now, otherwise you had to pay.
What is still in that game that's making these people continue to pay?
Raids. PvP.
Raids and questing?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do in the game, though. You raid. Raids are huge, which they've dumbed those down a lot. But it's just... when they got to 12 million, they had kind of... That was right at the height of the Wrath of the Lich King. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't have an account anymore. Have I ever showed you the map, Nathan, of World of Warcraft? Have I ever showed you that map?
I know I've watched you play World of Warcraft, but I don't know what map.
The map is huge. So like, I would do this I've done this to a couple of people, and they're like, "What all do you do?" And I was like, "Well, a lot of it's just running around and doing quests and stuff." But but does it really take that long? And I'm like, "Look," and I show them the map, and it shows like this one zone, and then I zoom out, and that's one of like 10, 15 zones on one continent, and then I zoom out, and now there's 2 continents, and then I zoom out again, and there's a whole nother continent out in space that they added, and then I come back, and there's another continent they added for Wrath of the Lich King, and then for Cataclysm they redid the whole continent, the original 2 continents, added a couple more little areas and zones, and added what else did they add? A huge raid then, and then they just come out with Mr. Pandaria, which is a whole nother little continent island that has a bunch of little zones on it. Like, there's so much content in that it's ridiculous. Like,
that makes me not want to play it knowing how big it is.
Yeah, right? Like, to jump into World of Warcraft right now, like, you can get to level 60, you can get to level 70 pretty quick because they cut those back. But going from, like, 70 to 90 is a trek and a half, man. You just got to sit there and question
and grind out.
Yeah, just kill boars out in the forest.
Yeah. Anyway, the whole reason I brought World of Warcraft up is it's eventually going to die, right? And everyone knew that. That's why Rift came out when it came out, which has been a couple years now. That's why you're starting to see all these free-to-play MMOs, because free-to-play MMOs started getting really popular because people are like, I'm tired of paying for World of Warcraft. They're dumbing it because they kept dumbing it down, and people are like, oh, I'm going to try to find something else. Let's try some of these free-to-play because you can just download them, play them. You don't have to do anything. So those got to be more and more popular. So people like Perfect World, who now have, like, they were like the raunchiest people on the planet Earth. But then they bought like Star Trek Online. They kind of fixed that. They now have Neverwinter, which is amazing. They sell games like Torchlight 2, which is really good. So now all these free-to-plays are coming up, and now consoles are saying, okay, let's see if we can get some of this juice that's being squeezed out of these fruitful, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Man.
Right these min juice from
man.
that are coming out of these free to play models. Let's try to get some of that money. And that's why Defiance has come out. Like, poor Defiance got pushed out so fast because it had to be tied to some half decent television sci-fi channel show. But that's why you see Defiance on all the consoles. Like, that's why, and I don't know why they didn't go free to play, but that's why Final Fantasy 14 is being redone and revamped so that they can have a successful MMO on a console. Like, that's what we're going to see is big multiplayer games on consoles. because that's where people are spending their time. That's where a lot of PC people, other than like strategy games and games that just won't run on current gen consoles, that's what they do. They spend time in these free to play MMOs, and then you think, well, how are they making money, right? Well, it's all microtransactions, and that's the big thing right now. It's microtransactions. We already saw it dip, like people double dip, and we saw it in, what was it, Dead Space 3. You buy the game, and then they still want you to pay more money just to get some digital crap so you can upgrade your gun faster. Oh, I'm almost out of breath, but that's the direction I feel like multiplayer is going, and we're going to see this hardcore left turn with these single-player titles that are very, very old school with next-gen graphics that are just going to be fantastic and fun, but they're going to be completely single-player, and they're not going to be like anything that we've seen before. And then, of course, David Cage will come out with another Heavy Rain or something crazy, and it's going to be an interesting console. All these, this next generation is going to blow away video games. It's not going to be like anything. It's going to be like everything we've seen before and a bunch of stuff we've never seen and probably never see again.
Like Knack.
Like Knack. Knack, oh man, that game looks amazing. It's probably going to be like 6 hours of the best silly platforming and ball rolling.
Can I just say that I think it's like weird when like people like now if a like studio head or somebody comes out and says, no, I'm not having multiplayer, it's like a big deal. But
yeah,
I mean, 15 years ago, it was a big deal if you had multiplayer. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like I used to be like back around Xbox One era. Like I hated it when multiplayer was on it. Like I was against even Xbox Live. I was like, I don't need that. I play games for the single player experience. I want to play a good story. You know, I don't want to have
never played GoldenEye before.
I want to have no friends, and I don't want to even talk to people in the internet world.
Dude, I remember when the original Xbox came out and playing the original Halo with my brother and his friends and just being like, this is the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. And from that day on, I was secretly jealous of Xbox, but still like hoping that Nintendo would fix themselves. And 20 years later, and they haven't changed a thing, but they've changed very little, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely, I guess I could say that I never bought a console for multiplayer until it was something that was very easy, until the Xbox 360 basically, and that was after the Xbox 360. That's pretty much
the first time Xbox Live was just like, that's what started it all.
Yeah,
you could actually play with your friends and not have to go over to the house.
Well, and not have to. I mean, you could play it on your PC, but the PC, even back in those days, the PC like. It didn't have matchmaking. It was still like this whole server thing. And that, while you could do it, it was still like a process. And then, of course, sorry, I had a burp. Xbox Live came around and invented matchmaking, basically, or refined it into the crappy thing it is now. And just kind of changed the game. But yeah, I didn't buy a console for multiplayer until at least, it was like 3 or 4 years after the Xbox 360 came out, and I had already had a bunch of friends playing it. And I was like, well, I'm not doing anything with my life, so I guess I will continue to do that and get an Xbox 360.
I mean, that's I guess I kind of agree with that. When did Gears was not a launch title for the 360, correct? When did it come out in that like life cycle? Was that about like a year after it came out or so, or
it was. Well, maybe it was a launch title.
Somebody Google it.
I'm just patting my belly while I talk.
I thought you were.
No. I was making fun of you because you were patting your dog, but I just assumed you were patting your belly while you were talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize I was doing that.
No, all right. It wasn't annoying or anything. It was just funny.
But anyway, like that's the first game that I ever played on Xbox Live was Gears of War, the first one. So. Yeah. I mean, that was not necessarily like I said earlier podcast. Like the reason I got a 360 was Oblivion,
right?
But I think the reason that made me a pretty staunch Xbox believer was Xbox Live, and I got a PlayStation 3, but it was for completely separate reasons,
right?
And multiplayer functionality was not one of those. So, I mean,
Yes, Gears came out in November 7th, 2006.
Ah, thank you, Nathan.
When the console release? Same time?
Sometime in 2006. I'm assuming it's right around there.
Oh, okay. I didn't think Gears of War came out at the same time, but I guess it did. Yeah, I mean, and I know we keep talking about this, but the reason I'm buying the PlayStation 4 is not because my friends are. Like, I'm not buying that console for the multiplayer, even though it's going to exist and it's going to be whatever. I'm buying it because for me personally, it's a better console.
I'm pretty much the opposite. I mean, it is a better console, but I'm buying it because people I play online with are probably going to buy that one.
Well, and I mean, I kind of agree with both of you on that. Like,
yeah,
I'm not getting it because of, they're obviously the PlayStation 3 had its issues. I'm hoping that it's fixed and it will be better, but and that my friends were also going to get it and I'll be able to play it on that. But
yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, to me, like right now, it's all around better.
And I have to admit, if none of my friends were getting a PlayStation 3, like if I found out that they're all getting Xbox Ones and I just didn't feel like I could afford it or wanted it right away, I probably just wouldn't buy anything for a while, because there is that influence of my friends having the same console, but part of that's also not because I expect to play games with them, because I don't even now, even though we all have Xbox 360s, I still don't have the time or find the time or just find myself when I do have the time on the Xbox playing with you guys. But, it's I can still be like, oh man, did you play this on the Xbox? It was so much fun, and I would want to do that with the PlayStation as well. So, but yeah, so interesting indeed. Any other last thoughts? Let's wrap this up. I think we're getting pretty close to the end of the world.
How does Nintendo survive without a heavy dependence on multiplayer?
That's a good question. And actually, it's really, really interesting because actually they're not surviving whatsoever.
Well,
they're losing millions and millions of dollars. But just side note, they made a statement saying that they were not going to fire anyone or remove anyone or, like downgrade or, lay off anybody because they felt like it'd be bad for morale. They want people to make good games. How amazing is that? Like that shows how
amazing.
confident not Nathan, but Nintendo is in the games that they're going to be releasing. They were just smart enough to wait on the console.
Well, I think that's exactly how it survives is exclusive games.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Yeah. And
I mean, the Wii survived because
strictly because it was something new.
yeah, but
it had
don't
great like local multiplayer. Like it was fun to get 4 friends and play whatever Smash Bros or Mario Kart, whatever, bowling. But I mean, there's only so many times that you can buy like.
right.
Well, I guess you would need like a total of like 8 controller because I mean you have to buy the nunchuck and the Wiimote.
Yeah.
I mean that's like that's an investment in itself.
Well, don't compare it to the Wii though, because the Wii was successful from launch. Compare it to something like the DS and the 3DS. Actually, more specifically, I guess just the DS. How horribly those sales were at first. I mean, they just didn't sell DSs at all. They were too expensive. Nobody wanted. There's no games. But eventually, they came out with something that was on nothing else. And do you want to know the game that saved the DS?
Animal Crossing.
No,
it's
much worse than that.
Oh God, Kirby's
Pokemon.
Epic Yarn.
No, Nintendogs.
Oh,
That was the first title that it might have been the first title that Nintendo really released for the DS, and it was made by them, and it was barely a game. You just play with dogs, but it showed off all the features. It was really, really cool, and nobody had ever seen anything like it before, and it started selling DSs. That game alone started selling DSs, and eventually they kept pushing out games themselves, and then of course other people realized, oh, we could make good money, and so they started making games.
That's why Paul bought a DS. He just wanted to play with puppies.
No, actually, you know what I've never played on the DS that I wish I had, and I might.
Nintendogs.
No. It's the Phantom Hourglass. It's like the sequel to Wind Waker. I realized the other day I'm never gonna play this. There was one about like a train or something. I'm gonna pass on that one.
Spirit Tracks.
Yeah, Spirit Tracks. I might pass on that one. But yeah, I really want to play the Phantom Hourglass or whatever. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but
I wasn't necessarily like comparing the Wii to the Wii U. I just meant like
no. But my point is the situation that the Wii U is very similar to what they were in with the DS.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And so eventually they're just going to save themselves. They're going to have to release that key title, which probably is not going to be Pikmin 3. They got to figure something else out. I think I
read, unless I'm mistaken, I think I saw somewhere where they teased a new Wii U IP. New.
Yeah, that's what they need to do. That's what Nintendo needs to do, is a new IP for the Wii U. Because only hardcore fans are going to get Mario Kart. Only hardcore fans are going to get Smash Brothers. People aren't going to go buy the console for Smash Brothers. People who've been playing Call of Duty are not going to go buy the console for Smash Brothers. When they get the console for some other great title, they might go back and buy Smash Brothers or Mario Kart. But they're not going to initially buy a whole console just for those games because they've played them.
I don't get that. I mean, looking at Nintendo's history, at one point in time, even their biggest franchises now were new IPs. So take Little Big Planet for instance.
Right.
I kind of would equate that to a Nintendo-ish kind of game or experience.
Yeah.
Microsoft and PlayStation have shown. They're coming up with new stuff like that. But it just goes back to I don't know. Nintendo's been stagnant for the last 25 years, and they just
they just sit on stuff for too long. That's what I feel like they do. They just sit on stuff for too long. They should have planned on having a hardcore Mario or a hardcore Zelda or a hardcore Metroid ready in the launch window. Even if it wasn't day one, in the first 3 months, one of those types of titles, one of their hardcore classic titles, should have been released. That's what Xbox did with Halo, right? Halo came right after the original Xbox and the Xbox 360. Maybe not the original Xbox, but the Xbox 360. I made
Halo
that up.
1
I have
was
no
the
idea.
Launch title for Xbox.
Oh, was it? See,
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. See, I made it up and it was true. Oh, but yeah, that's. But it kind of goes back into our whole point. For Nintendo, their saving grace is not going to be multiplayer, and they're going to be one of those people who really hardcore go the other direction. They're gonna say, hey, we've got couch multiplayer like no one else. You can't sit there with your friend and play Destiny split screen because that'd be stupid, right? That wouldn't make any sense.
How dumb is split screen multiplayer?
It's the worst thing on the planet Earth, as far as I'm concerned.
Another thing.
Oh, let's
You're going to sit here and tell me that Call of Duty can't figure out how to make a full screen format split screen multiplayer? Have you played split screen multiplayer on Black Ops 2?
No.
It cuts it off.
Oh, wait, yeah, I have. Yeah, I did it once. It's really, really dumb, isn't it? Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, really stupid.
Yeah. Well, they got to have that technology for when the fish don't swim away.
Well, and that's the thing. That's another. Well, I guess we need to be wrapping this up.
It's a whole nother barrel of fish.
Yeah. They're not spending money. Call of Duty is spending money on technology to make fish move out of the way.
They're not spending money on anything. There's paying developers to do something, so that way they can. Because this Ghost was done 3 years ago. Ghost was done 3 years ago.
Sure does look like it.
And they've just been sitting.
Is Nathan dead? Are you dead?
I think
Nathan?
he died.
No, I'm here.
I'm dialing 911. All right, let's wrap it up. Nathan, do you have any last thoughts? Me and Kyle have been sucking up the microphones.
When are we going to get a multiplayer Booth Dudes game?
Oh, my gosh. You're right. We need a Booth Dudes MMO. Where you go from conference to conference, leveling up, grinding up the levels.
By leveling up, you work out and you physically make your muscles bigger, and then you
physically grind
the other dudes.
You grind on people.
Go grind on other dudes
at the conferences. Oh my gosh.
Booth Dudes 2013.
All right, I'm done.
Okay, well, again, this was a very good, not too long. I think it was actually a very good pace. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Let's just get off here. I'm tired. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you watch this on YouTube, I know you sat there and stared at the screen the whole time, so I really appreciate that. And thank you for listening, more importantly, because all our words are important. Everything we say is law. And we hope to see you all next time. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at FreeTheHawk. I always forget to say this, so I'm going to say it this time. I am at Ooh, I almost said something bad.
Taco.
I almost said something worse than that. FreeTheHawk, and also Kyle is at WhoAmKyle. We have Nathan at Heisenberg56. Follow us. Follow me, and most importantly, because I'll tweet the cool stuff out. I'll tweet when videos are up on the YouTubes. I'll tweet when I'm live streaming. I'll tweet when we're recording. I'll tweet all kinds of stuff. Nathan doesn't tweet.
Essentially,
Kyle
Paul
tweets
responsible
stuff
for
about Star
anything
Wars.
good that comes from this.
Yeah, pretty much. But still, if you like this, please like, subscribe, and rate. You can rate us on iTunes. I looked this up. You can actually give us a 5-star rating, which everyone should give us a 5-star rating. I hope to be the #1 podcast by tomorrow morning, even though this podcast isn't going out till Monday. So do that math in the future. Anyway, oh my gosh, thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate your time.
Bye.
Oh, yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. I love you.